Greetings. Happy Wednesday. Welcome to the Steve Deace Show here live and on demand on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast with Todders and Aaron McIntyre. I'm Steve Deace. We've got a lot happening for you today. Daniel Horowitz has the day off. He is speaking at a conference this week, and he's going to be replaced, a very capable replacement. One of those other people we are way overdue getting on the show for the first time. Karol Markowicz, columnist over at the New York Post and Fox News, is going to join us. The crazy stuff we are seeing Democrat mayors and governors do. Is this truly emblematic of who Democrat voters are? We will ask that question of Karol Markowicz, even though we know already the answer. That coming up at the bottom of the hour. And then next hour, we're going to kick it old school. No Daniel, a contiguous version of buy, sell, or hold with your submissions. Always look forward to those. But first, let's kick things off as we always do with Aaron's rundown of what happened while we were away.
What happened while we were away, brought to you by blowing up boats. President Trump and Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced yesterday a U.S. military strike on a narco-terrorist drug boat in the South Caribbean. They say it left Venezuelan waters and belonged to the vicious gang Trendiaragua. Also at that news conference, President Trump confirmed the federal government plans on going into Chicago only.
I didn't say when we're going in. When you lose, look, I have an obligation. This isn't a political thing. I have an obligation. When we lose, when 20 people are killed over the last 2.5 weeks and 75 are shot with bullets.
Mayor Brandon Johnson, your thoughts?
Shootings will continue as long as this presidential administration continues to put politics over people.
Governor Augustus Gloop got in on the action.
This past weekend, 54 shot, 7 dead.
Yeah.
They're going to say the city's not safe.
Look, big cities have crime. There's no doubt about it. But let's just pay attention to what President Trump is doing.
Back in D.C., Mayor Muriel Bowser capitulated to President Trump yesterday, issuing an executive order requiring all city law enforcement to comply with and assist the federal law enforcement presence. Rashida Tlaib, your thoughts? After a couple of weeks of rumors and reports, Iowa Senator Joni Ernst finally squealed.
Having been raised in a family who has given me so much love and support, now, as our family ages and grows, it's my time for me to give back to them.
Almost immediately after that announcement, Iowa Congresswoman Ashley Hinson has said she's jumping into the Senate race and has already been endorsed by people like Alabama Senator Katie Britt and Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton, among others. Learning Chinese today, today's phrase is, what an amazingly spontaneous and not at all astroturfed rollout of the Congresswoman's Senate campaign.
这位女议员的参议院竞选活动真是令人惊讶的自发性。
Speaking of the Chinese, the CCP held a military parade yesterday. It was attended by Kim Jong-un of North Korea and Vladimir Putin of Russia, among others. In response, President Trump posted this all-timer on Truth Social, quote, the big question to be answered is whether or not President Xi of China will mention the massive amount of support and blood the United States of America gave to China in order to help it secure its freedom from very unfriendly foreign invader. Many Americans died in China's quest for victory and glory. I hope they are rightfully honored and remembered for their bravery and sacrifice. May President Xi and the wonderful people of China have a great and lasting day of celebration. Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong-un as you conspire against the United States of America. The House Oversight Committee released over 33,000 pages of Jeffrey Epstein documents last night. This comes after Chairman Comer issued a subpoena for records related to Mr. Epstein just last month. Well-known author and speaker Malcolm Gladwell says he was a coward when it came to the issue of dudes competing in female sports.
If we did a replay of that exact panel at the Sloan Conference this coming March, it runs in exactly the opposite direction. And it would be, I suspect, near unanimity in the room that trans athletes have no place in the female category. I don't think there's any question. I just think it was a strange. The reason I'm ashamed of my performance at that panel because I share your position 100%, and I was cowed. The idea of saying anything on this issue, I was I believe in retrospect, in a dishonest way. I was objective in a dishonest way.
Irish comedy writer Graham Linehan was arrested by 5 armed members of British law enforcement as he stepped off his plane at London's Heathrow Airport. His crime? Writing a post on X expressing his belief that transgenderism is a mental illness and women have a right to defend themselves if they feel threatened by a tranny in a bathroom. Safe, legal, and rare update. Here's a graphic posted by Planned Parenthood on Instagram this week, a drawing depicting a woman's midsection with the words, quote, "You can get as many abortions as you need and want," end quote. And finally, this from the Babylon Bee, pregnant celebrity mom delighted to announce unborn baby is trans. And the last two items are basically the left in a nutshell, and that's what happened while we were away.
Aaron's montage brought to you by our friends over at Moxy Pest Services. They're celebrating 25 years in business. It's their silver anniversary, a quarter century. How'd they make it this long? Because it's the little things they know that add up quite a bit, because nothing can annoy you more when the pest control guy becomes the pest out of control at your house. Like, you give him the garage code and he leaves it open, so it was open all day while you were at work. Or he gets in the back gate, leaves it open, doesn't close it, so it was open all day when you were at work. Doesn't cover his shoes, so he tracks all over your home, that kind of stuff. That stuff does not happen with Moxy. Every single day they follow up with their techs to make sure they don't just have the latest cutting-edge solutions to your pest problems, but also that they themselves don't become the pest with the customer service, those kind of lost arts that are kicked aside by too many corporations nowadays. And it is those little things is why Moxy's made it 25 years. And they want to help you celebrate with them by offering you your first pest control service for them for just $25. You can't beat that. Take advantage of it today when you go to Moxy Services, MOXIE, MoxyServices.com/Steve, and use the promo code Steve. That's Moxy Services, MOXIE, MoxyServices.com/Steve. Use the promo code Steve to get your first pest control service for just $25. All right, to the montage we go. Quick question, because there's going to be a lot more of this now, because we're winning this issue. And I said a couple of years ago that this was one issue I thought we could win because we were doing things. Now, we were in danger of not doing those things. There were shows, even some that used to air on this network, that were like platforming this Blair White dude, because we had to have a conservative tranny. Fox News still tried to make, Bruce Jenner a thing, as if he's the person to come out and discuss the excesses of what he essentially mainstreamed himself. He has more to do with what we are facing than any other human being on the planet. He mainstreamed this. So we had to do a little policing of our own on this 3 or 4 years ago, right? Yeah, we did. And we did do that, in fact. Played our part in that. But ever since then, we haven't given any quarter on this issue at all in terms of the language that we have been using. We haven't accepted any premises at all. And that's why I thought we had a chance to do here what we should have done with so-called gay marriage from the beginning, but didn't. What we should have done with baby murder from the beginning, but didn't. That I thought we had a chance, therefore, to win this without it becoming like some 40 or 50-year debate. While we spend, the first 20 years of it apologizing for our viewpoints. So since we're winning this thing, there's going to be a lot more Malcolm Gladwells out there now. Now, I thought this was an interesting conversation that I saw in my feed in response to this morning on X. And some people I genuinely like and respect and know were like, hey, welcome home. Some people I genuinely like, respect, and know were like, not on your life. No, you do not get to come off the top rope here after we're the ones that did all the heavy lifting and took the heat that you, by your own admission, were not willing to take. So where do you two come down on this? Or do you think it varies on a case-by-case basis?
I think it's pretty clear, like if we knew Malcolm Gladwell on a personal level, I think you can forgive and forget at a personal level. But on a civic level, this lie that he participated in, and he admitted that he was ashamed to have participated in, and that's a good and righteous thing, and we should absolutely say that and absolutely take that in stride. But this is on a truth basis. Okay, Malcolm Gladwell is a very talented storyteller. He has a lot of interesting things to say. Mm-hmm. He's very good at that. But when it comes to fundamentals, it's kind of like the story that you tell of the guy coming home from work. His wife made him his favorite meal. He goes and says, "Oh, honey, you're really beautiful. You're really pretty. Oh, you made my favorite meal again. The house is spick and span. I love all of this. By the way, I hit it with the secretary today. I can't wait to spend some time with you tonight." On a fundamental level on that marriage, even though it sounds right, even though it sounds nice, the fundamental of that marriage was broken. Mm-hmm. It was broken. A fundamental truth of creation was broken, and he fell for that trap. So I'm sorry, on other moral issues, no, I'm not going to listen to you. I think you'll have some fun stories to tell, some cool books to write. But on fundamental issues, you've kind of disqualified yourself. Even though you're doing the right thing now, I'm not going to take you seriously in the future.
So Aaron, would you say that Malcolm Gladwell has reached a tipping point in the debate that we're doing
look
here?
at you.
Yeah. Okay.
This ain't your first day on the job.
No, it ain't. So are you saying, hey, I'll welcome him in, but in terms of looking at you as a thought leader on any of these things moving forward,
on
you've
moral
disqualified
issues,
yourself?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, where are you at, Todd?
Yeah. People are making a big deal about this so-called act of contrition, not because it's sufficient, but because it's so rare.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this never happens. And so his humming. I guess that's the best we can get, which is a poor reflection on our side, because if that's the best we can get, our kids are going to lose. If you recall, even before COVID came along, I said transgenderism, once you accept this lie, you will fall for anything else. It's abundantly clear. And it's because we fell for that lie first that I think we're deeply connected to why we all fell for COVID. We've got to do way better than that. And no, he should not be trusted. I would need to see him penitent in a fully, objectively non-negotiable Christian way for me to have his ear on anything in the future. I just don't. This is with any serious conversations going forward with anybody about anything. If they try to give me any guilt trips or pushback, this is one of the first places I'll go to. Mm-hmm. And if they can't give me anything resembling a sane answer, I won't take them seriously about anything.
See, the way I'm wired is I'm pretty ruthless until you show a modicum of contrition and repentance. And then I'm such a sucker for a redemption story that I go completely the other way.
That's good if it's real redemption.
That's kind of how I'm wired.
His actual words were, it was just kind of a weird time.
That is true.
No,
that is true.
You just didn't strain, you took a weird bong hit one day and things happen and what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
There was a
come on
bronze tiger and Mike Tyson started playing the drums, and next thing you know, I'm saying women and men belong in women's sports kind of a thing.
Yes.
Right? Yes. Yeah.
Trust the experts. No.
All right. The Epstein file released last night. Don't think it's any coincidence at all that this comes on the heels of it comes to preempt the discharge petition. And for those of you that don't know what that is, all right, you can in most legislatures in the House, the State House, and in the House of Representatives in D.C., you can file a discharge petition to get a bill that leadership does not want to come out of committee and is blocking it. You can file what's called a discharge petition in order to break that gridlock and bring it to the floor. I think it typically requires about a 2/3 vote to make it happen. These things rarely will because the most sweeping power that any party in power has is control of the agenda. And they tend to police that very ruthlessly because once they give up that, they're kind of looked at as a paper tiger from there. So rather than deal with Massey's discharge petition, Speaker Mike Johnson and the Republican leadership in Congress just said, we'll just release the files last night. Now, I'm waiting to see what people like. I don't have time to go through 30,000 files. And it kind of makes you wonder, on one hand, to be fair to them, if they had not just dumped all 30,000 files and tried to streamline it for us, we would say what? You're hiding something.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if they give us all 30,000 files and then don't give us some kind of a topical streamlining, we say what? We got to look for needles in a haystack. You know what I'm saying? The typical lawyer trick, just bury somebody in paper, right?
Yeah.
You can't win for losing. right? But no one deserves the benefit of the doubt here. Literally no one, because the truth has been hidden from us for so many years. So, but there are people out there, whether our very own Jason Buttrill here at The Blaze does this stuff, Big Data Republican does this kind of stuff. So there are going to be people that are going to be, and are probably doing so as we speak, pouring through those 30,000 plus files. What we do know from Congresswoman Anna Paulina, who oversaw the release, she runs the Select House Committee on this. I had forgotten about this. Let me find this in my feed real quick because she provided this summary. Here's what she wrote. There are over 33,000 documents. Names will be in those files. Per the victims, we need to follow the money trail. This was a well-orchestrated operation with many tentacles to shell corporations and more, etc. Chairman Comer, via House Oversight, is requesting to the U.S. Treasury to follow the money on that front. There's a lot to uncover regarding Deutsche Bank and how much money was funneled and moved through them. Epstein's work was described as an international trafficking network to all members of Congress who were present, and also involved trafficking women from Slavic nations as well, immigration fraud, etc. Many of these women have stayed silent due to fear of retribution. Foreign governments, as in more than one, were named to be working with Epstein. Victim information, rightfully so, was redacted from release, but the committee as a whole is working to ensure that they will be giving access to all the information that was previously denied to them by other administrations. Thank you to the Trump administration for handing all of that over to us. One victim had her newborn daughter threatened for coming forward. Epstein was still victimizing underage girls while on work release while wearing an ankle monitor, only to spend the evening in prison. That's incredible and would indicate high levels of government collusion for him to be doing that while under that level of surveillance. Would mean people in charge would have to be looking the other way. You know, like when he supposedly committed suicide. The attorneys of some of these implicated individuals have apparently already tried to contact some of the victims' attorneys. And so that's the summary of what was just released by Congresswoman Anna Paulina. There was the press conference today with Congressman Massey and Ro Khanna. Is that, or was it Kohana? It's Kohana, isn't it? The Democrat that he did the press conference with today. And lots of alleged Epstein victims who also said that they were just going to go ahead and release their own list of who it was that abused them, which I'm totally in favor for. And it'd be easy to sit here and say, why wasn't that done a long time ago? But we're not the ones whose lives are going to be threatened by revealing that information, right? So it's easy for us to say. But I think all three of us would be completely in favor with them following through on said threat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I did find interesting is Real America's Voice covered this press conference today. And it has been covered quite a bit by pretty MAGA influential accounts on X, despite the president saying, hey, we did release, here's all the files we have. We released them all. This is just a political stunt. Time to move on. Well, I think that given the amount of focus that some very influential platforms and people within Trump's own movement have in focusing on this, they clearly are reading their audiences, want this information and want to know the truth about this and want to learn how far down the rabbit hole goes. So thoughts on this so far before we really get into the pouring through what's inside these files?
I'm just going to watch for people acting strangely, doing things, and it might not have anything to do specifically with the Epstein issue, explanations therein, but when they're just doing things that are out of character, why are they operating the way they are in this moment? Because if this thing has the tentacles that people have surmised it would, you would have to start asking all kinds of questions. For example, this is just me talking, but it's in the exact same montage. It's just the timing of the thing. Does Joni Ernst resigning have anything to do with this in any way, shape, or form? I have no specific example of how it might, but I'll be just looking for things that are, why now? Why then? Because that's exactly, if this thing is the bomb that everybody says it is, that's exactly what you should see a lot of scurrying.
Yeah, and also I think James Comer has already addressed this as well. something like 97% of the documents released last night were already public. So I'm at the point with this entire saga, entire story, that it has been so mismanaged by basically everyone that until there's handcuffs one way or another, this sounds terrible because there needs to be justice for the victims. Ghislaine Maxwell was trafficking apparently to no one, or was she? There were victims here until they are done right. You know, that's injustice rules the day, but it's really difficult for me to believe that anything will happen here just because it has been so mismessaged, mishandled. It's ridiculous that we're sitting here in now September and we're just chasing our tails, it feels like. I'm sorry. What was it, February or March, where we had the binders?
It was in February, right before the president's State of the Union.
I'm sorry. I just have a hard time getting emotionally or any level of invested in this story anymore.
Aren't we dealt with the same problem that you talk about as the hardest thing to do your job? Like to just agree upon what the news is?
Right.
And as big of a deal as we've made it, now all of a sudden, casually, it's just like, well, here you go. And you're just left like, something is not right. This is not how this thing ends.
Right. I mean, that is the hardest part of my job, is knowing, how do I know when I'm even commenting on and opining on is even true? And the amount of legwork I have to do to make it, no, hey man, I'm not going on a roof in August in Mississippi, so let's not overdo it here, okay? But the amount of the amount of legwork I have to do for this job, despite all the technology we have now, and way more resources than I've ever had before, is way more than I've ever had to do before.
Mm-hmm.
If that is, I mean, I don't have to do that. I mean, I could just be a hack, you know, there's plenty of those. I don't have to do that extra legwork, but that's just not who I am. So I'm going to do it. It takes more time than it did before. And that's even with someone that has the prodigious recall that the good Lord blessed me with. So as this gets increasingly more nihilistic, I can see why I'll never do it. It's just not how I'm wired. But I can see why so many people in our business script their shows just to make sure you
stay on target.
Yeah, exactly.
Stay on target.
Exactly. I mean, just to keep that thing
buttoned up.
I mean, I have no clue what's true on a day-to-day basis that I'm commenting on. I just don't. And as best as I can, I hope it is true, but I might have a completely different take the next day because I find out that it's not. What's going on in England right now, I want to make this point too, is exactly why I've had the position about Ukraine that I've had the entire time. Listen, man, I got emails from Russia today too. I got offers to appear and do stuff with Russia today as well. I responded to 0 of those. I think Vladimir Putin is a gangster and a fiend. That being said, he is not nearly the existential threat to me on a daily basis that the Western governments who love Ukraine and oppose him happen to be. I don't like that that's true. That's not the era you and I grew up in. The lines are very clearly drawn. West versus East, right? Drago versus Rocky. I mean, the lines were very clearly drawn when you and I were growing up. Those were simpler times.
Are you asking what sacred Western values we're defending anyways?
Correct. I just have no idea. I have no clue. I really don't. This is what I mean when I'm telling you we have nothing. I'm just going to speak for me. I have nothing in common with these Western European, NATO, Davos, Brussels, WEF countries other than melanin levels. Nothing. I have nothing else in common with them. Nothing. I'm not happy about that. I think if you guys know me, I love a good moral crusade. I mean, I'll look for one, even if one doesn't exist. I love feeling I'm on the right side of history, man. I mean, I get off on it. All right. I love the battle. I'm not wired to say, yeah, man, no rooting interest here. Everybody sucks. Just not how I've had to do that far more often in this career than I ever thought I was going to. But that's not how I'm wired. That goes against my wiring. My wiring is I'm a child of the 80s, man. Because we're America. How you like them apples? That's how I'm wired. I thought jingoism was a food group growing up, guys. All right.
now you drive 2 hours north of here and you don't even have anything in common with those people.
I don't. I crossed the Iowa-Minnesota border. What do I have in common with that? And what do I have in common with we're arresting people as they get off of planes because they know what a woman is? I mean, did you guys see the clip of the BBC doing a roundtable of this? And the people on the panel were like, these tweets were just way out of line. This was the right and proper thing.
Yeah.
When I tell you stuff like the only difference between Putin and Keir Starmer and Vladimir Zelensky is just what the system that he is overseeing limits them in ways that Putin is not limited. This is what I'm talking about. But what do I have in common? What do we have in common with these people? Well, we have a shared history. I know Jacob and Esau had a shared history too. How'd that one turn out? The Israelites and the Egyptians had a shared history too. Till they didn't. And a Pharaoh who knew not Joseph arose. That's not an answer. How about the shared present? How's that looking? Not great. Even bleaker, the shared future, or lack thereof. Because they're all going to be speaking Arabic. No. I'm not, no. My son's not dying for your Habsburg dynasty pissing contest. All you people deserve each other. I don't care. Build a moat around America, not just a wall. A moat. A moat with nuclear-powered alligators. And then they can just do to each other whatever they want. Come at us, we're going to make you wish Daddy wore a prophylactic that night. Other than that, have a nice life. We have nothing in common. Nothing. I mean, did you guys see what King Charles said about Islam yesterday? Mm-hmm. So tell me what mutual enemy could invade the UK that would make us think, well, we're next. Who would it be? I can't think of anything. I mean, I can't think of a force that currently exists on this earth that these old Western governments, these socialist democracies, these spirit of the age entities would band together to say, this is just a bridge too far. And then we would say, this is a sacrifice we have to share. Can you think of what that is?
No.
China does it. So we're just gonna put the instructions in Mandarin. The social credit score will be in Mandarin instead of German. Nothing. The answer is nothing. That's why I don't care about Ukraine. I'm sorry what happened to the Ukrainian people. What Putin did was wrong. We can't fix everything. We can't even fix ourselves. The average American can't buy or sell a house right now, let alone save the houses on the Crimean Peninsula.
The president wants to stop murder in Chicago, and the mayor is mad at him.
Correct. Major political figures in my country are using terms in the 21st century like indigenous peoples. So no, I'm sorry. I just don't have the wherewithal to choose a fight. Who do I like better, Soros or Putin? Yet, that's my answer. And guns up to all y'all. Nuclear-powered alligator-infested moats around every body of water that surrounds this country. I just have nothing in common with you. You're not worth this level of sacrifice. The only difference between the Western countries and China is Xing is not limited by systems that they are still limited by, but they're trying to blow those systems and speed bumps up as we speak right now, so they're not limited by them either. You know where else you'd get arrested right as you get off the plane for wrong speak? Peking, Beijing, Moscow, London. Nothing. Absolutely nothing in common other than melanin levels. That's it. So how much do I like MD hearing aids? I don't just recommend them to you. I recommend them to members of my own family and give them to them as well, like I did my stepdad, Jim. So it's 2025. Are you still paying thousands of dollars for hearing aids that may not even work right? MD Hearing makes high-quality, easy-to-use, rechargeable hearing aids with exceptional sound quality that are personalized to your hearing profile. They cost just a fraction of what typical hearing aids do. Their new Neo model costs over 90% less than clinical hearing aids. The Neo fits right there inside your ear. No one's going to even know that it's there. Founded by an ENT surgeon who saw many of his patients needing hearing aids, but they could not afford them, MD Hearing its mission is to develop quality hearing aids that anyone can afford. That's why they've sold over 2 million hearing aids. They offer a 45-day risk-free trial, 100% money-back guarantee, so that you can buy with confidence. So get the high-quality, affordable hearing aids you deserve with MD Hearing. Go to shopmdhearing.com. Use the promo code Steve to get a pair of hearing aids for just $297. Plus, they're adding a free extra charging case. That's a $100 value just for listeners of the podcast here. That's shopmdhearing.com. Use our promo code Steve and get a pair of hearing aids for just $297. Karol Markowicz is a columnist over at Fox News and the New York Post. She joins us now, has a podcast of her own as well. She joins us now here on The Blaze on the Steve Deace Show. Karol, been following your work for years. It's good to have you on the show for the first time. How are you?
Hi, Steve. So nice to be on. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So let's start our conversation today with a very simple question. How much are these Democrat mayors and governors, is this just partisan politics? And how much of this is they are literally insane?
A little from column A, a little from column B. The truth is that a lot of them understand that they have a real serious problem. They just don't want Donald Trump to be the one to fix it. You'll notice that Governor Kathy Hochul of New York has been kind of quiet. And, when she does talk about Trump, she talks about him in a kind of a friendlier way because she sent National Guard troops to the subway in New York. They're still in the subways right now, and it's working. The crime has gone down, and she can't say this is something that won't work. Oh, this is crazy. What a fascist thing to do, because she did the same thing and had it be effective. So these governors who have to pretend that, oh, big cities just have crime and that's the way it is and we can't do anything about it. Obviously, their point is to hurt Trump, but they're really hurting, obviously, their own people. Let's
discuss from a nuts and bolts aspect. Why did it work in New York City? Is this an indictment of the NYPD? Are there different levels of rules of engagement for a National Guard? Mm-hmm. Is it they just lack the funding at a local level? Because it's certainly not that the New York government is small, right? So why would it help there? What did the Guard bring to the table there?
I think it was just the presence of the National Guard, and that it makes people feel safer and it makes the criminals think twice about acting. And the question of the NYPD is the NYPD just isn't deployed in those numbers to the subways. And that's been the case for, some time now. Of course, when New York was functioning and when New York was doing well during the Giuliani years, during the Bloomberg years, there was a lot of police presence in the subways, and it worked. People, when they saw police, felt safer, and the criminals thought twice about acting when they saw police around. When Bill de Blasio became the mayor, it became unpopular, and all the multi-million-dollar brownstones put defund police signs in their windows, and that's when the presence of police in the subways decreased. So I think it could have been done with the NYPD. I think that Kathy Hochul was just trying to appeal to her leftist flank and not send NYPD, and that's why she sent the National Guard instead.
All right, let's go there next then. All right, how much? I live in Iowa, okay, and I travel the country. We're on all over the country, but it is rare for us to see. We did at our legislative session this year to see the nose ring, blue-haired brigade out in force, like in a state like this, And so the question that we have here in places like Iowa in the Midwest is, do Democrats in Chicago, like if they're having lunch, on Michigan Ave, just casual in conversation, do they drop terms like indigenous peoples? Or is that just is that a political talking point for a mayor? But then who's that? That he's not just throwing that out there, I would assume. So
Right.
That's meant to pander to be a touchstone to somebody, And so what we're trying to figure out here is how much of this is showmanship, and then how much of this is real cultural Marxism that just simply can't be tolerated.
It is cultural Marxism. That's actually what it is. I think that they have language that they are supposed to use, and they know to use it with each other. They drop their guard, for example, when they're talking to me. I was a lifelong conservative living in New York City. I was very open about it. I didn't care who knew. And when liberals would talk to me, they would be real with me, and they'd say things like, the homeless problem has gotten really bad in my area. They wouldn't say that they were worried about the carbon footprint of the unhoused, the way that they would talk to, their friends. And so you have the situation where leftists feel like they have to walk the line with each other, and they have to use the jargon exactly right, because if you don't, the circular firing squad turns on you very quickly. And so you have the situation where those blue-haired people are using that jargon, they are using the indigenous people, but they don't really mean it. And they have to use it, otherwise the left, their own friends come for them.
So you don't think it's necessarily that the leadership, like on the right, I've said for years, on the right, the base is to the right of the leadership. Now the gap has closed some in the Trump era, at least in terms of the messaging, but that is still true, right? But on the left, I believe that the base is to the left of the leadership there as well, and the tail wags the dog. Is that also what you believe?
Absolutely. And look, I was born in the Soviet Union. I know that you say what you have to say to get by. You say what you have to say so you don't get in trouble. And that's the way that they all operate. They're all afraid to say anything. I moved to Florida. It'll be 4 years in January, with the great migration that happened. And part of why I moved was that I saw that the people I was living around, liberals, who for my whole life I didn't care, it didn't matter, until the policing of the language and the cancel culture came for them, and they became afraid to say anything. So if somebody would post in a Facebook group with a neighborhood, oh, crime is getting really bad, everybody would police it and say, what are you talking about? What crime is getting bad? No crime is getting bad. You're watching too much Fox News. And it would become where you were not allowed to say what you actually believed, what you actually saw was happening. And I was like, I got to get out of here. This is no longer going to be a sustainable model for existence. And that's ultimately what happened in places like New York, where they have not allowed to say what's actually going on, and it has caused so many problems in their society because of that. You can't fix problems you can't admit you have.
What you're describing, let me see if I can piece this together, Karol. Let me see. Self-enforcing creeds, a self-enforcing creedal system. You have to be willing to sacrifice some level of your individual autonomy and agency to serve that creedal system. And there is a certain amount of conforming that is expected that goes against your natural instincts. What you're describing is a religion. Mm-hmm. I mean, all religions do this. Now, listen, I'm a Christian. I put the fun in fundamentalism, right? So Christianity demands some of those things of me too. Every religion does. The question is it from a righteous presence or premise, and does it produce righteousness in the individual, right? For example, Christianity demands of me to crucify the most debased instincts of my human nature, to act outside of it to be a better person, right? Yeah. So what you're describing, though, is a religion, but it does the inverse, which is when you accidentally blurt out things that are obviously the laws of nature and nature's God kind of stuff, the pressure to stifle that in order to conform to the creedal system that has led to the very problem that you are complaining about, that is actually what takes precedence. You're kind of describing a bizarro world religion.
Well, there's no coincidence that communists get rid of religion first, right? That's the first thing that has to go in order for them to be able to instill their own faiths and beliefs into you. A few years ago, Bethany Mandel and I co-authored a book called Stolen Youth, where we talked about how the left first strips away the rights of the family. And you can't do that unless you've already turned the religion over to the government. You can't do that if you believe in God, if you believe in your faith. Obviously, it all fits together. If once you lose the religion and they are able to fill it in with government, they're able to take away your rights as a parent, and they're able to fill in, oh, the community is the parent now. All of that it's a straight shot to communism. I think that what you're describing is exactly right. It is this Marxist system that gets pushed on themselves first. They come for each other first. I always say liberals have, the circular firing squad, because there's only so much they could do to us conservatives. But once they do end up going after each other, they try to expand the circle and they try to pressure the rest of us into it. And we've seen it over the last few years as they've affected our language and as they've had more normal people have to fit into their box. Thankfully, it seems like we've woken up and we're fighting back against it, but it took a long time.
I also hear you saying there is no amount of suffering of natural consequences that would cause these kinds of blue strongholds to say, we gave it our best shot. The results speak for themselves. We've got to humble ourselves before said results and acknowledge reality unto itself. What you're saying is there really is no amount of suffering that would cause that then. They're that invested in the overall creed.
I don't know. That part I'm unconvinced about, because I was in New York when New Yorkers did the unthinkable and elected Rudy Giuliani, a Republican, as mayor, because we had hit rock bottom. It had gotten so bad that people were forced to admit that they needed a change. So is it impossible? I don't know for sure. You were talking about Britain right before I came on here. They seem motivated, a lot of them, to fix their country. Look at the big protests that you're seeing, the Tommy Robinson protest. You're seeing them care about getting their country back. Whether they can do it, whether it's too late, I don't know. And I think the same thing for the blue areas. Some of them are still in a position where they can get back to sanity, back to normalcy. Whether or not they're going to do it, or whether they're going to be tricked into, you love Donald Trump if you vote for the Republican and you're just a Trumper and nobody should be your friend. That's the tough call here.
Final thing, just speaking politically about all of this, it looks to me like the White House is setting up, because there's still no don't know if this time next year the various economic paradigm shifts and disruptions are going to filter down so that the average American is more enthused about the economy than they are at the moment, right? And so to me, then you need a contrasting existential issue to hold back, a blue wave in a midterm next year. And it seems to me that the White House is settled on this being the issue. This is the issue where they go to the voters in some of these places and say, hey, maybe the economy isn't rebounding as fast as you'd hoped or we expected, but are you really sure you want to put these people back in charge? Because look what they do in their own areas, and we had to go in there and clean them up over their dead bodies in spite of themselves. Kind of an old 1980s kind of a campaign in a way, but are you kind of maybe seeing that this is the one of the singular battlefronts for next year's midterms?
So what's interesting about that is because the midterms are still so far away that Donald Trump might have just too much success before then. I compare it to what's happened at the border. Immigration has largely ceased to become an issue, illegal immigration, in a lot of ways in the country. I mean, there's still obviously the deportations and a lot of fights around that. But because Donald Trump succeeded in getting the border crossings down to such a low number, it can no longer be used as an issue. And I wonder if the same thing isn't happening in our cities, that amazing success that he's had in Washington, D.C., for example. If he ends up having that same level of success in other places in Chicago or in Baltimore, I don't know that people are going to remember it. We're in a very fast news cycle where it's what have you done for me lately? It might literally come down to what he's up to that month and what he's working on that month. And I hope I hope his administration sees it that way. I hope they realize that in order to get the wins that they need, it might really come down to what the White House is working on shortly before that election.
Great stuff, Karol, and we'll have you back for sure. Wait, our apologies it took this long to make it happen, so thank you.
Thanks so much. Big fan of yours.
No, I appreciate that. Thank you. Take care. All right, guys. What do you think?
Well, she's a smart gal. Spent some time with her on a podcast on a much different issue. But she's, I her story. I'm from the Soviet Union. I moved to freedom in New York.
Yeah.
I had to flee again.
Mm-hmm.
Will you please, for the love of God, listen to me? Full stop.
I was born in Russia, moved to New York. I like winter, and I left it permanently to be free. Yes. Aaron, what about you?
Yeah, great conversation. And I think one of the problems that the left is facing in the year 2025 is that unlike the conquering in the name of cultural Marxism that has occurred primarily in Western Europe, what's unique about the United States of America is that we have 330 million people here. Well, that's what they say we have. I think it's a lot more than that. We have a lot more people here. It's a lot harder to do a top-down conquering of a country like this because geographically we are so diverse and vast and wide, and therefore we have a vast and wide diversity of population, like actual belief systems and things like that. So, yes, there are areas and pockets of the country that the left has conquered, big cities for sure, places like California and Minnesota for sure. But I think the problem that they're facing is that trying to attempt a complete and total transformation top down, perhaps the country was not ready for that yet. And that transformation started to occur during the Barack Obama administration. Mm-hmm. And what's unique about our country is that it's just a much bigger nut to crack than it was in Western Europe. So have they had some success? Absolutely they have. But did it come at a time when the entire country was, when they had reached hegemony across various pockets and various states? No. So I think they are in a situation where they are not quite sure whether or not they can accomplish what they want to accomplish, especially when you have the optics of a lot of these protests. Just saw one the other day. It's just one of those cringy songs that a bunch of white boomers showed up in D.C., white liberal boomers, just singing these weird. That's the optics of the Democrat Party, that and the blue hairs.
It's Woodstock for Evs.
Yes.
It's Peter, Paul, and Mary for Evs. It's the mamas and the papas for Evs.
So you can see they are really, some of these Democrat leaders are really kind of trying to grope in the dark here as far as what they should actually do. Because you can see some instincts and people like Gavin Newsom. Oh, obviously boys shouldn't compete on women's sports teams. And then he nearly started a civil war in his own party over that. So they are really, some of them are really grasping at straws.
Amen. Speaking of grasping at straws, I Sell Hold is next. Stay tuned. All right, back here with Hour 2, live and on demand on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast with Todd Erzin and Aaron McIntyre. I'm Steve Deace. Let us know what you think about what we think via the stevedeace.com inbox, which you can take advantage of by emailing the show, steve@stevedeace.com. Like us on Facebook, MeWe, and Gab. You can follow me at Steve Deace Show on X, Instagram, and TikTok. Don't forget to subscribe to our new YouTube channel, and good luck with that. At Deace Show on YouTube. That's at Deace Show on YouTube. Looks like the Blaze is going to try to launch another frontal assault on YouTube.
Once more into the breach.
God bless them. It's adorable. Their level of persistence there. I do. I find it anywhere from adorable to inspiring. All right. So that will mean, though, that I will no longer probably, until we get crushed again, I will have to cease and desist.
If we showed Todd just side by side the performance of you and I's sports side project
with no marketing, nothing,
that YouTube channel alongside our current YouTube channel for this show,
yes,
would he cry or spontaneously combust?
Yes.
I think there's a chance he might weep.
Yes. Straight up, Aaron and I do. And we don't post regular content. It's not year round. It's long form. It's like a 30-minute weekly show. We do 9 months out of the year, one time a week on Big Ten sports. And it way outperforms.
It's like
with a show of this magnitude that did 7 figures in billing last year.
I would weep. If we can just harness the irrational appetites of Sports Pro and target them at YouTube, perhaps that's the Achilles heel. Just that relentless obsession.
The thing is, I should probably be rooting for it to work this time, since I have a clause in my deal that gives me a massive bonus if it does. So I should probably not be like, we're doomed, we're toast, it's not going to work, we're screwed from the beginning. I've got every incentive to think otherwise, but I just feel like I've done this dance before a couple times, right? But coming up shortly, I will have to, with great enthusiasm and earnestness, encourage you to subscribe to our YouTube channel.
I think Tyler over there has an appetite for that. Did you see him yesterday? Somebody was snarkily talking about RFK Jr. and said, you mean to tell me that the CDC, and he started mentioning all the agencies, all colluded at one time to go after, and Tyler retweets.
That's our CEO, yes.
Yes, Tyler Cardin with a one-word, Tyler Carditis to you, my friend.
Yes.
One-word answer. Yes. That's
right.
Our boy. He's in.
That's the plucky energy that's going to be needed to take on Google and YouTube one more time on behalf of this show. All right? Because by the way, we said stuff like that for several years is why that's why we're screwed on YouTube.
That's why that's what I'm saying.
But we'll give it another go. We'll do it again. Up the hill we go. One more. All right? You can also subscribe to us on iTunes or hit follow if you're on iTunes and subscribe everywhere else. Those do get counted, apparently. That's why we're still employed around here. You can also leave us a 5-star review. Tens of thousands of you have. Thank you for each and every one. Thanks to our friend over at Beam Dream Powder. When you find Beam, proudly founded in America, run by people who share our values like hard work, integrity, and delivering results, you're going to find a healthy nighttime blend with science-backed ingredients shown to improve your sleep so that you can wake up refreshed, ready to take on the day. Like when I found Dream. Everything changed for me. I found out that it was still possible post 50 to go to bed at night and not wake up to pee. You're in such a deep sleep. I thought the days of not getting up at least once a night were over for me. But then I found Dream. And I'm dreaming now instead of peeing. I started sleeping through the night without tossing and turning and urinating. Wake up more energized, not groggy. It's a game changer. Here's the deal. Beam is giving you guys the ultimate Patriot discount of up to 40% off if you try their best-selling Dream Powder, and get up to 40% off for a limited time if you go to Shop Beam, as in laser beam, BEAM, shopbeam.com/Steve. Use the code Steve at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Steve. Use the code Steve for up to 40% off so you can sleep better, wake up stronger, show up ready for your family, your work, and your country. Because when you're well rested, you're unstoppable, and this country needs more people like that. Which brings us to buy, sell, or hold, because you guys, you're those kinds of people. You have given your submissions to Aaron. He has selected the ones that we will discuss here on the program. We'll get to as many of them as we can. What remains will be saved for subscribers in the overtime. And since Aaron does not put these in any kind of priority, a lot of times the overtime stuff's the best stuff. So there you go. blazetv.com/days. Todd, you and I have not seen these submissions yet. We will decide whether we buy them, sell them. If, however, you use your hold, being that is really a grievous violation of the dude code. A grievous penalty must ensue. I always love the look on Todd's face every week. All right. Brace yourself. Gird your loins. Right? There remains Mr. Erzin. Now, one bachelor left in the United States Senate. Do you know who it is?
Yes.
It is indeed. Senator Lindsey Grahamnesty is now the last bachelor remaining in the United States Senate. And you're going to have to figure out, if you use your hold, brother, you are going to have to figure out what it will take for him to cease claiming that status.
I wish I remember. I saw somebody comment on the engagement photos for Cory Booker and said, these photos look like B-roll that gets played during pharmaceutical commercials when all the side effects are being read off.
Yes, nice beard. Nice beard, dude. Indeed. All right, Aaron, fire away.
Let's begin with Brutus, who says God sends signals in mysterious ways. 90-year-old Lee Corso on his final appearance on ESPN College Game Day, going 6 for 6 in his college football winner picks, and all of the teams he either played for or coached for during his career, winning their games this past weekend. Was God giving a wink and a nod, letting everyone know that Lee has been a good and faithful servant and worthy of all the accolades he's received?
I will tell you this. The tribute that they did to him, or did for him, I watched the entire thing. It's 6 minutes. It's incredible. And it's his kids. It's his grandkids. It's people professionally that you know, that you don't know. I mean, the indelible impact that he had on them as a father figure, as a man. I was greatly moved watching it. That, by the way, that ended up being the most watched episode in the history of College Game Day. And much of it was a tribute to him. But the thing where they put him in a theater and just rolled film of people that he's impacted for the last several decades, and the impact that he had on them. And I mean, it was incredible. It's the kind of thing most men, if you have a legacy like that, you never get to see that. It's the kind of stuff that's said about you after you're dead. So what an incredible gift to an 89-year-old man. And then we're talking six different schools, Aaron, that he coached and played at?
Yeah, he went 6 for 6, but all of the schools that he played or coached for.
If that is coincidence, man, it is one heck of a coincidence. So I'm going to buy.
I am going to totally sell. A really good dude. And I don't know anything about him deeply. So this is an educated guess. But if he did not take himself too seriously, which is why he was successful and why early on people liked him. I think if we really, if modern day sports bra and college football was embodying the spirit, that's a great irony of this. If embodying the spirit of Lee Corso, college football wouldn't look like anything like it currently does. It's constantly trying to kill itself. So if you put what we saw about Lee Corso in a time capsule, and 200 years later, people had opened and watched it, they would think like a great philosopher or priest or some kind of statesman had died, because that's the level of obsession we have put on this. They'd be right. In many ways, a religious figure died. I don't think that's what he wanted to be. He just wanted to have some fun playing college football. So I'm not trying to be a downer, but I think those are the simple facts of the matter.
What was cool for us, Amy and I watched the whole thing, because the debut of Game Day as we know it today coincided with the first football season that we ever spent together. So going through all of this and all these clips, it was really like it was like a stroll down memory lane for us. I mean, it kind of just coincided with our relationship. So I thought it was very cool.
Next, we go to Connor, who says Gen X needs to step up into leadership roles in public office. Most are becoming empty nesters and have the ideal spare time and wealth compared to millennials and Gen Z.
100% buy.
Yeah.
Remember, I've said all along, again, unless your name's Boomer Generation, I have no idea if you're listening to shows like this and participating in the process, why you're getting offended at what is about a generational. That's idolatry. You should not be identifying with a generation, regardless of what generation it is. All right. If you're a believer, you represent a kingdom not of this world. Okay. And so, like everybody, I've run into a bunch of Steves. They all sucked. Well, I mean, my name's not Bunch of Steve, so I don't care, But I have, during all these conversations, it's very clear generationally, this last generation collectively screwed the pooch, wet the bed. And some of it was intentional. But how many times have I offered the disclaimer, Todd? I have no idea if our generation will be any better. I don't have a clue. And I've pointed out, our generation came of age. Our generation, if the boomers thought they were going to usher in utopia, our generation ushered in nihilism, self-loathing. That's what's some of the greatest music of our era, of the 1990s. Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, Black Hole Sun, Nirvana, That's all very self-loathing, very nihilistic. We went in the opposite direction. That there isn't anything to hope for. There isn't anything to root for. Hyper cynicism. And very complacent. Now everything's screwed, so what's the point? I don't know that we'll be any better, and I don't even know that we're going to get a turn. I don't really see a lot of places where our generation is actually asserting itself. But I agree with this, so I'll buy.
I'll buy, but our generation just in deep red state, Western Iowa, just gave over Woodbury County, so I'm not optimistic.
Now, though, let me say this. There was one generation that voted for Trump in the last election. Only one. Gen X. That was the whole election. Trump won him by 11 points. That was the only generation that voted for Trump. Even his fellow boomers, it was a tie. He lost 4 points from what he got from boomers in 2020 when he won him by 4. So we were the only generation that collectively voted for Trump. So there's that. Get credit for that. But in terms of now asserting that sentiment into initiative and positions of leadership and action, just from what I've seen, I just do, guys. I just have more millennials and Zoomers coming to me for help and assistance. And what do you think of this? Than I do all over the country, than I do my fellow Gen Xers. And that's a fact.
You can't just be a citizen on election day.
I agree.
That's why I think I think you are right to point that out in terms of proper context for that presidential election. But being a citizen is a 365-day-a-year job.
Next up, because we are on the topic of generations, put this in at the last minute. This has been making the rounds on X over the past couple of days. This graphic from Fox News titled Gen Z in the Workplace. And here are some of the stats of, I don't know when or what resume templates. I'm not sure if that's an organization or some sort of pollster. 77% of Gen Zers admitted to bringing a parent to a job interview.
Hold up. For real?
Let's just wait till the end here let me set this up. This is what this survey or whatever found. 77% of Zoomers admitted to bringing a parent to a job interview. 53% of Zoomers said their parents spoke with a hiring manager on their behalf. 73% said parents helped complete work assignments. 45% said Zoomers said regularly talk to their or parents regularly talk to their current manager. Buy, sell, or hold these stats. And I'll tell you this, I'm selling this like it's Enron in the fall of 2001. I don't know of a singular, I know a lot of Zoomers, and I'm aware of a lot of Zoomers in my extended family and friends. I don't know a singular one where any of these would be remotely applied to them.
I'm going to sell so that I don't shoot myself in the face. I'm going to sell for my own. So why would
they be lying about this?
Well-being. This maybe they just pulled Zoomers in New York, L.A., San Francisco, Boston. I cannot possibly believe that this is true. Almost 80% brought a parent to a job interview.
That just cannot be true.
That cannot possibly be true.
Not even in San Francisco. Not even.
It's just if it is, I'm going to start teaching myself Arabic because we're going to need it way sooner than I thought. Way sooner than I thought. In fact, I've never been more inspired. It's probably been since about 2003 since I wanted to blow up the outside world by Soundgarden more than I do right now after you just showed me that graphic. Holy freaking crap. We're screwed. We're screwed.
Do you guys even total depravity? Bro, I'm buying.
It can't be true.
Okay, boomer.
It can't.
Todd is a boomer.
And I love Aaron talks about all the people he knows because we know you're putting yourself out there. How many people did you talk to at the Pitbull concert, Aaron?
1.
That's your.
No, I'm not going to have you undercut my art. I know that's haha funny. I know a lot of Zoomers. I do know a lot of Zoomers. I know there's a perception about me that I don't talk to anyone, but I do. And none of them. Hell, I know a kid in my extended family who just got fed up with Target, so he started his own business. And it's, it's going like gangbusters.
See,
clearing snow. Clearing snow. He's doing landscaping things, going like gangbusters. Oh, and by the way, he makes money playing video games competitively on the side. Now, he's a unicorn. I understand that. But that's one example. I know of a lot of people, and I know it's anecdotal, but I wouldn't even contemplate any of those statistics on any one of them.
Were you producing the segment where we just had a former resident of the Soviet Union talk about fleeing from New York because it was turning into the same place? I'm just saying, it's bad.
See, I could absolutely see this being true in New York, in places like that. There's no way this is true in the state of Iowa. No way. There's no way it's true. There is no way 78% of Zoomers, 3 out of 4. Well, guys, I've sent 3 Zoomers into the job market here in Iowa myself in just the last few years. How many job interviews do you think I was brought in on or asked to be? 3 out of 4, more than 3 out of 4? There's no way that's true in Iowa. No freaking way.
I am the Catholic refugee at the school that your son formerly attended. So I will have had
graduated from. He didn't flee it. I don't want to throw that, but make it sound. Okay.
No, right. He's so I don't. You heard different stories, but I've heard enough. There are problems like that there.
I don't know. I think boomers are in the older generations. You guys, I think you're trying to do to Zoomers what boomers successfully and accurately did to millennials. I just think there's a difference in generations.
Right, and Aaron's got the back of the generation that's not his. Good job out of you, Aaron.
Yeah, I'm breaking the cycle.
There you go.
Next, Zachary Harnden says the special edition with Keith Nestor needs to be released.
How does Zachary Harnden even know about this?
He must have talked about it. Keith?
Keith sent me a link about he said it was I did an Evergreen. It hasn't released yet. I had a great time with Steve Deace. He said a clip. So he just said, it's going to be sometime this year. And that clip was last month.
Now it looks like it's going to be sometime next year.
Next we go to Misinformation Super Spreader, who says no one actually likes the special editions. Guest hosts would be better.
We can't do guest hosts. The way my contract is structured, we can't do guest hosts. Not to mention, we don't have the technical means for it. The Blaze would have to do that, produce it completely independently. I live in Iowa, so I'm going to sell. I live in Iowa, so the amount of talent that exists here just to step in and host a show of this magnitude ain't deep. Thirdly, actually, we get tons of great ratings. This is actually the first complaint about the Evergreens I have ever received, is this proposition right here.
Well, he is Misinformation Super Spreader. So.
Nice. I get overwhelmingly positive reactions to those thus far. So that's the first one. But that's why we do it that way. That's why we don't have guest host and things of that nature. That's why there's no guest host for Sarah Gonzalez when she is gone. You have guest host for Glenn because we're simulcasting a radio show that still is on 500 stations. But if you look at all the shows that are native to the Blaze, Glenn is a simulcast. If you look at all the shows that are native to the Blaze, there aren't any guest hosts, and that's why we're. When
we were on Salem, we did have guest hosts.
Yeah, we did
from
that.
Time to time.
Yes, we did. Yep.
Next, we go to Jesse, a 2028 candidate for office, state, local, or federal, will end up trying to use OnlyFans to fund part of their campaign. Legal questions aside, the attempt will be made.
Oh, I 100% could see this. I mean, wasn't there a gal that ran for office that her and her husband were on OnlyFans together?
Yes.
Now, she wasn't using it as a fundraising thing,
no.
but she wasn't. Her and her husband were producing OnlyFans porn videos, right? I seem to recall that story was out last year.
Yes.
But I don't. I mean, by what standard would we not do this? By what standard would we say that it is wrong? I will buy.
Yep.
Colton O'Halloran says if Christian fathers would take catechizing their children seriously, this would single-handedly be one of the best things for our country.
This is one of the easiest buys in the history of this.
I put these two back to back actually on purpose for once.
This is a 100% buy. You bet it is. Number one. There was a massive study done about 15 years ago, and I can't remember who it was by, And what it found, when we talk about headship in the home, what does that look like? And what this study found is if mom takes the kids to church on a regular basis, but dad never goes, flip of a coin at best, that those kids will go to church themselves as adults after they leave the house. Yeah. If dad takes the kids to church, regardless of what mom does, the odds were like 80%. That's what it means. That's what headship means.
And the number of dads I've met over the years that when it comes to the guys their daughter is dating and they have some version of, well, they're adults now. They've got to make their own decisions. They're just telling you how cavalier they were with catechizing about any number of things, formal theology, Life 101, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. How they've been on cruise control if they can get to that point, and after investing 18 years of time, talent, treasure into raising that kid, and they're just like, yeah, well, whatever. But exit stage left. The amount of energy they'll show it, you can guess it. Man, that's not sustainable.
Right on.
Next, we go to Micah. A separated but not divorced agreement between red and blue states is both workable and preferable to a hot civil war.
Oh, 100%. But here's the realities of human nature. When things deteriorate to that level, you're probably beyond having the common sense to make such an arrangement. I mean, for example, the amount of debt in these blue states. Think they're just going to let all these baseline budgeted red states just walk out?
This isn't
and not keep helping them subsidize their own debt?
This isn't even theory. We had the Greater Idaho movement on our show. They're trying. Let's just do this. Go our separate ways.
Yes.
The left won't.
They won't let you go.
Them.
These are Jehovah's Witnesses with tanks. They think they're here to fix you, and that you need fixing. So they won't let you go. But of course you're right, so I will buy. Of course you're right. But how many amicable splits like this have there been throughout the course of human events? And the answer is a really low number. Really low number. I mean, how many amicable splits are there just in human relationships? What's the ratio of divorces where everything's figured out, it's amicable, we just grew apart, wasn't going to work out. We had the whole thing with the kids, the house, the money, everything's all figured out. Let's just make this happen. 100 to 1, 1,000 to 1, 10,000 to 1 maybe, somewhere in there. Well, it's that hard when you're talking about two people and then their children and extended family and assets. What do you think it is when you're talking about 360 million people?
Donald Trump, I'd like to stop murder in your city. No, get out, you tyrant.
Yes.
Good luck.
Yeah, the indigenous people want more murder. Yes. So, yeah. You're right.
That's not even a bit.
Yeah, you're right, but it's just not human nature. It's not the world in which we live, but you're right, so I'll buy.
Next, we go to Clinton with how fast the G7 bond market has exploded and credit card delinquencies are now at 12.3%. We will be in a full-blown recession by Christmas or spring of next year.
I'm going to sell because I think Trump will do, I'll say whatever is necessary to avoid getting saddled with that word before the midterms next year. Whatever is necessary.
See, the degree to which this might be possible is why I ask questions like I did yesterday about why now with Trump seemingly totally rhetorically pivoting on Big Pharma. What is he positioning himself in relation to? So I'll buy that. I would consider this as possible.
I think this is probably an outcrop of the conversation you had with Steve Cortez yesterday. Because we got several submissions kind of in the same vein. I've seen a lot of discourse about this. Whatever's happening at the macro level with the economy is not being felt at the ground level of the economy. It's just not. People still feel very squeezed.
But it's the stuff at the macro level that will determine whether we're in a recession or not.
Yes.
Okay. So the stigma of that word, I think you will see Trump do politically whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Avengers level, whatever it takes.
Next, we go to Live Free, who says, it's time we accept the truth. We got duped into believing that subscribing to a collection of TV and movie platforms would be much cheaper and easier to manage than a monthly cable bill. Now we're back to paying for the commercials we were trying to escape. We got duped.
100%.
Yep.
It's more expensive than cable now.
It's more expensive.
We don't need this much content.
Nope. You're correct. 100%. I'll buy.
Nobody's got the card.
Next, we go to Trumpet Tiger, who says Trump's recent possible change of mind on the jab will not be enough for the Trump derangement syndrome crowd, exposing their hatred as never really being about COVID at all.
There's going to be some of that for sure. I'll buy. I mean, I don't know how much of that there will be. I don't. And you know, we have to see. I want to see Trump fulfill the pivot. Okay. I've just on a setting aside professional. This is such a personal issue to me. And my conviction on this has cost me financial relationships. It has cost me personal relationships. I mean, no one was more shocked I got invited to go to the White House in April than I was. All right. No one was more shocked at that. And trust me, there are plenty of people in that White House we know, both for and against us going, to the point that we never told you guys we were going to the White House until the day we were there. Just because I wanted to, that was my decision, my edict. I didn't want the Blaze promoting it ahead of time, didn't want you guys mentioning it ahead of time, because I wanted to see to believe it. I wanted to make sure we stepped onto the grounds of the past with my name on it to believe it. We had those conversations, right? I wanted it to be true, but I needed to see it was true. I have the same position about this. And it's because of my convictions on this that I didn't believe the thing in April was going to happen until it did. I want to believe it is true. I do. It's so vitally important that it is, but I just need to see it first.
Amen.
But if it does happen, you're correct. There will be a group of people that will expose that this was a fig leaf the entire time just to hide their hatred for Donald Trump, even after he finally did what they wanted him to. More in a moment. Hey, I want to take a minute, say thank you guys for watching, listening to this show. It's because of you that we keep producing content like this. Blaze TV exists because people like you refuse to settle for watered-down coverage, endless spin, clickbait headlines with no substance that mislead instead of inform. This has never been about one voice or even one company. It's about a movement of people who refuse to sit on the sidelines. They're willing to take a stand. That's why Blaze TV matters. And by subscribing, you're standing arm in arm, shoulder and shoulder with us and with the community of the like-minded for a country we think is still worth fighting for. And Blaze Media only exists because people like you step up and join us and help drive that mission forward. So if you want to subscribe and join that mission, you can watch today's Overtime, where we'll do the conclusion of Buy, Sell, or Hold, all of the other exclusive content as a network we do each and every day, and get $20 off your annual subscription at blazetv.com/Deace. That's blazetv.com/Deace using the promo code Deace to get the $20 off. blazetv.com/Deace works out to like 26 cents or something a day, $8 a month for the year. blazetv.com/Deace, promo code Deace for $20 off on your subscription. And thanks to all of you that are already subscribing to make Blaze TV possible. All right, Aaron, let's get back to Buy, Sell, or Hold.
Sheepdog Sean says, top 5 movies every Christian man should see that their pastor wouldn't want them to. 5, Man of Steel. 4, Constantine. 3, Fallen. 2, Book of Eli. And 1, Devil's Advocate.
So I'm struggling why Man of Steel is on the list at all. And I love Man of Steel, but I don't know why that's on the list. And I certainly don't know why a pastor would not want you to see Man of Steel. What's subjective about that? The other films, I think the next 4 films are all rated R. So I can see why a pastor may object to that, to those in some various context. I have no idea why Man of Steel is there. I don't think Constantine really has any redeeming value at all. Fallen is very good. I'd recommend. Book of Eli is one of the most underrated movies so far this century. It's great. Highly would recommend that. And The Devil's Advocate has some very explicit material, but it also has one of the rants that actually inspired both Nefarious Plot and Nefarious. I mean, Al Pacino's devil in the film is one of the best portrayals of the enemy I think that's ever been on film. So, does that mean I buy or sell a list, Todd, based on my analysis? You tell me.
Probably so.
All right, then we'll go with that.
Yeah, I'm going to sell. I'm not quite sure I understand it. I also like the whole rated R thing. You know what I think about that? I mean, that's not even a movie thing that most people have. Your faith is rated R, as I've said before, and if you won't watch a rated R movie, that means you're just like dead set on living a perpetually childlike G to PG level life that's always nice and everywhere. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. I even saw somebody, because Mel Gibson's obviously in the news more because he's right now making the 2 sequel movies to Passion of the Christ, and somebody mentioned that there's a lot of Christians that won't go see it because they think it's, which I assume may apply also to your movie, Steve.
I can't tell you.
They say it's a violation of the second commandment, graven images. Like, I
can't tell you how many notes I got from people that said they couldn't see my movie because it was rated R. I lost. It's in the thousands. Seriously.
I don't even, you know what you said about before? I don't know. I have nothing in common with you other than melanin about the West. Like when stuff like that comes up, I get speechless. I don't know what that means. You wouldn't see the Passion of the Christ. Okay. Now, Sheepdog, I went on a rant there that had nothing to do with you. So, but that's what when you said what pastors will or won't let you see, this is the stuff that comes to mind.
Can I put in a couple of buy, sell, or hold submissions that are very topical based on what we discussed at the top of the show? Aaron, do you mind?
Your show?
Sure.
Okay. And since they're both from people I know, like, and respect, I want to include these in the conversation. From Matt Walsh, buy, sell, or hold this. So these alleged Epstein survivors had a big press conference to urge Trump to release the names, even though they say they already know the names, but won't tell us what the names are. Oh, okay. Yeah, it makes total sense. Buy, sell, or hold.
Buy.
You're buying it. Okay. Todd.
I mean, I'm buying the sarcasm.
Yeah, that's what
yes.
that's what I mean. Be clear what you wanted us to buy.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah. Again, I don't know if there's actual, like, one of these women has apparently literally been killed in the past. So, but there's enough there that I'll buy with Matt. He's making a very important point.
As a follow-up, this one from Jesse Kelly. A lot of Epstein victims are real victims, and a lot of them are money-chasing opportunists. And in this social media age, it's going to be virtually impossible to tell which is which.
Buy.
I trust absolutely nobody at this point. Nobody, not in the government, not lawyers, nobody.
Yes, that's what I said at the top of the show.
In total, Matt Walsh just had a part of that, which doesn't mean he was wrong. I just totally agree with what Jesse said.
I think I buy them both too, and that I'm not happy with that. It's unfortunate.
If they've been trafficked, this happened to them. And as part of this deal, though, if they're really not, if they're just like, I'm getting paid, by what standard? College football, bro. There's just too much money. I mean, who the hell are we to say you don't get your paycheck too? So,
listen, this has been the thing that one of the few things so far in the first 8 months of this presidency that I have been genuinely opposed to and not happy with is the handling of this. That being said, when the president says now that this is largely being driven by a Democrat hoax, I agree with him. Now, some of the reason why it's been co-opted by them is because of how his own administration has handled it up until this point, starting with whatever the hell Pam Bondi was doing with those 3-ring binders that she handed to our Liz Wheeler and Jack Posobiec and my buddy Chad Prather and the Libs of TikTok chick and whatever the hell that was in February, kind of set the stage for the clown show we are seeing now, okay? Nancy Mace found a way to make herself the story about the Epstein victims because that's all she does is make herself the story, all right? So what he is saying, when he says that now, it is true. I mean, there's just no way. MSNBC suddenly cares about... MSNBC didn't care about this for how many years? For how many years when we had leaked flight logs that had Bill Clinton on it? How many years did MSNBC care? Now they care? They don't care. And I love Thomas Massie to death. One of the finest men I've met in politics. But I kind of think... What's that guy's name again? Is it Ro Khanna, the Democrat that's sponsoring this with him?
Yeah, Ro Khanna.
Ro Khanna, thank you. Did Ro Khanna put up any bills to put these files out there the last few years?
I'd never heard of that name before.
Nah, never did. So Trump is right when he says that this thing is largely now being just driven by Democrat hoaxers. He's right about that now. That does not mean the whole story is a hoax. And frankly, one of the reasons why it's gotten to this point is because of how Trump's administration handled this up until this point. But that all being said, from this point forward, I don't know what the truth is now. I don't. I mean, once a televised a lunatic asylum like MSNBC has their hands on it, what is there left to trust? What is there left to know? And that is an excellent point. I'm all for you guys telling us the names. Why didn't you have a press conference today? Why don't you just tell us the names today?
Right.
Just tell us the names. Could have just told us today. That's a great point. All right. Anyway, back to the program, Aaron.
Let's do, how are we going to segue into this? Tim says the best metal album of all time is Master of Puppets.
Not my genre. I hate I hate that music. Never liked it. Couldn't stand it my entire life. The one Metallica album I actually like is the one that they sold out on, the Black Album, and went pop with like Enter Sandman and all that stuff on it. I like that much better. Okay. I just not into that kind of music. Not my thing. Just never been a headbanger.
Same.
Like AC/DC is like the closest I would get to stuff like that, and that's not considered metal. Yeah.
Cricket's Ghost says Labor Day is the last thing our weak, lazy society needs.
I'm gonna sell,
like as just like a extra holiday. This is what we're.
I guess I'm gonna sell because Listen, I work as hard as I possibly can, but I'm not doing the most. It's stressful in a certain way, you know. As I have to be as I have to be available and willing to be scrutinized way more than the majority of you. But it ain't, you know, laying drywall in August in Alabama, man. Okay. You know, it ain't, my neck is red as Alabama clay. It's not, you know, on my 14th lumbar strain, you know, driving an 18-wheeler 4,000 miles across the country every week. See what I'm saying? It's just, I'm just not sensitive to sitting here. All right. Am I not nearly as fat ass? All right. But sitting here in my 69 degrees, nice air-conditioned, spacious studio, all right, overlooking not 1, 2, 3, 4 different television monitors, okay, and sitting there saying, no, we do not need Labor Day, okay, that seems like the most Ben Shapiro take ever, okay, nope, not me. I'm going to sell. I know a lot of you work way too hard, and the country's not suffering because you're getting one more day off. It's not. So I'm going to sell.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to sell. You're just connecting two data points. I mean, we are all the things you said we are. But having Labor Day actually is, if you look, people actually get out and do things they don't normally do with that extra. They're often out. It seems like this is my anecdotal evidence, but they go out and they actually do like barbecues, you know, and picnics and things like that. So they actually shake it up a little bit with Labor Day and Memorial Day, it seems to my eyes. But you are right about we are soft and our underbelly is cancerous, yes.
I just think there's other places where that could be addressed.
Oh, yeah. which is why I do.
Than telling people that are fulfilling Alabama's 40-hour week for a living that they can't have one more day off. Okay. I think there's other places where we can address that.
Daniel says Tim Tebow's pregame prayer before the Tennessee-Syracuse game was a tremendous example of presenting the gospel in under a minute.
I saw it. Totally agree. Thought it was sensational.
That's good.
Yep, I'll buy.
Next.
By the way, you want to get blown away. Again, I've said this before. Going on YouTube and watching old sporting events in their original broadcasts will just demonstrate to you how much of a country we have lost. Go watch like college bowl games from the 70s. And every single one begins with either a priest or a pastor praying in Jesus' name, or the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And they televised it. It will blow your mind. It will blow your mind how much of a country we've lost if you do that. It'll depress you.
All right, let's park it here where we kind of began the show with this. Seth says, with all the upheaval in England, the UK will move further right than the US over the next decade.
So, I don't want this to be true. It can't happen without violence.
Well,
they don't have the agency. There's nobody to represent them. It can't happen within their current political construct. They have no agency. There's nowhere to go. They truly don't. There's no one to vote for. Nigel Farage is devolving into Mitt Romney as the years go by, and he's like the best they got. The agency isn't there. The process by which to act on this, the platform by which their voices could be heard, simply does not exist. It will take like a revolution, I'm afraid.
It's going to turn into Mordor before it reverts to the Shire.
I agree. And I hate saying that, okay? I hate saying that. But there's no party for them to vote for. It doesn't exist. There's no agency. They have no agency. They're just voices screaming into the ether. They don't have any agency. They have nothing. Nothing like even the Blaze exists over there, let alone something with the ratings of a Fox News that we all consider to be soft. Okay? Fox News would be the John Birch Society over there. Fox News would be Oliver Cromwell would be Cromwell TV over there. Okay? I mean, the agency for it doesn't exist. The most hardcore pushback within the entire cultural ether of England is Piers Morgan. Okay? Piers Morgan. Guys, it doesn't exist. It doesn't. It's going to take, if not violence, I mean, it's going to take like such upheaval like what happened to the Soviet Union, hundreds of thousands in the streets. And like the leaders, like in olden days, exile themselves like the Shah had to in Iran. That level of the threat that could spill over to that degree for them to vacate. They do not have the agency within their own system to make this happen. It does not exist.
Yeah.
And this is, by the way, this is why Musk spent $44 billion on X. This is why Musk injected himself into this last presidential election, because he feared that this would become a one-party country like what he's seeing all over Europe and he saw when he left California for Texas with Tesla. Okay? Same thing, is that they would win and then institutionalize everything to the point that this would become a one-party country, and voices of opposition, even some he doesn't even agree with, would not have agency anymore. This is exactly, his instincts were correct, and it's exactly what's already happened in Europe. The agency for this does not exist over there. So when agency doesn't exist, you have to create it. And I don't know how many history books y'all have read, but that often doesn't just happen because of petitions. Just saying. And by the way, didn't happen in this country because of sternly worded letters and petitions either. All right? You're going to have to create an agency that does not exist. And history shows those who make sure such agency that does not exist are not eager to let it exist. You have to make them make it exist. So good luck.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think over here, there's a certain category of often anons on the right, and I don't know if that applies, but they're very much say things like that for effect, when the reality is, they are in much more dire shape over across the pond than we are. And I think a lot of people say things like that because they feel helpless, because they really don't plan on engaging as a citizen here should. Well, they have, as Steve is right, you have way more opportunity and agency over here to just do a bare modicum to draw lines in the sand. So I understand a level of frustration with what's going on here in America, but that doesn't mean that what you're saying is true. Your dots just don't connect.
We're going to stick around, finish buy, sell, or hold for subscribers. Make sure, what's her name? Lois? Marjorie?
Yes.
That's the part of the show that she'll be flagging for later on from Right Wing Watch.
Yeah, she should.
You're welcome for that. Romans 8:28.